Hey everyone, just a quick reminder before we get into the video. I'm still running the Battalion Wars Modding Tools fundraiser. Your support helps develop and add new features requested by the community. We have almost reached our second goal of $2,000. Check out the link in the description to help contribute and make a difference. Hello everyone, today I'm going to be going over all the features that have been added since the 1.0 release of the Battalion Wars 3D editor. There are quite a few, so I've divided this video up into chapters, so without further ado, let's get into it. So, starting off with installation. Since the 1.0 release, there are some new installation requirements that require some features of the editor to work. So go ahead and download the latest version of the editor, or whatever that may be. My current latest version is 1.5.7, so I've already got that downloaded. You're going to need to download JDK. I'm going to download JDK 23 because that's the latest version that's available to me. So I've already got that downloaded. And once you have that downloaded, go ahead and boot up the editor and load into a mission. Doesn't matter which one, just pick one. Might take a little bit longer than mine. But once you've done that, you can scroll up and you can check your JDK version and make sure it's either above or the same as mine, and your LUA script editing will work without issue. So starting off with a really cool feature, memory viewing for Battalion Wars 1 and 2. Currently this only works for the USA version though. If you have a version other than that, it will not work. So go ahead and open up Dolphin and click on the USA version of the game and just boot it up. And once you've done that, you can click on Dolphin Experimental here and you can click Show Free List Info. As you can see here, we can see the memory values of everything that we can change in the game. If you click Advanced, it will show the things we also cannot change as well. So if I go ahead and load into a level, say such as this one, doesn't have to be this one for it to work. You can see all the memory values changing and loading in. Now red means it's very close to the memory limit, and it will show you used bytes here, so this is the max used, so that is where it will be the closest to the max most likely. If you ever hit it, you'll probably need to increase memory a bit more in that specific setting. Same for free. If you ever hit 0, you'll probably need to increase it more. With this feature, there's a bit more to it. So if we want to import or export units, we'll need to go to the mission we want to import or export them from. So I want to get a Solar Empire Dreadnought and I want to put it into this mission. So I'm going to go to 3.3, which has the Solar Empire Dreadnought. I'm going to let it load while it does that. And then I'll go to the Solar Empire Dreadnought over here. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to go to Plugins, Object Export, and then Import. You're not going to want to include passengers typically, because it will also take the infantry units that go in the passenger slots and add bloat to the level that you probably don't really need to. You should click on Edit Object and check how many passengers are in the vehicle, so you can know how many passengers to fill it in with your new mission. But once you've done that and you click Quick Export, you're going to not include passengers, probably don't want to include MP script ever, and you probably do want to clear instance flags. And then you're going to name your bundle whatever you want. So let's go with Solar Red Knobs. Okay. So we've exported the Solar Dreadnought. So now let's go to the other mission, SP 1.5. And now what we're going to do is we're going to click on plugins again. We're going to hit Object Export Import, and we're going to click Import. So as you can see here, I have 2 Solar Dreadnoughts, one of them from a previous attempt. So I'm going to click on one of them. Just hit Select Folder. I'll hit Yes. And then once I've done that, I'm just going to drag and drop it to where I want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and check the instance flags and make sure they're set to 0. For some reason they were not. I'm going to go ahead and set that to 0. And then I'm going to save this level. Now, since I added a unit to the level, this is where the memory viewer will come in handy. So I don't actually know if this level will work or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the game, the USA version specifically, click open, and I'm going to make sure it's running my mod. This is the correct thing. And then once that's open and on the main menu, I'm going to click Show Free List Info. And as you can see here, I have this debug info right here. Shows me all the memory values. Looks like I'm safe on memory. Came close, but looks like I have enough memory for everything. And as you can see here, we have a fully functional Solar Empire Dreadnought in this mission. Next up, we also have script editing, a very anticipated feature of the editor. You can just click on any script, doesn't matter what it is, and it will open up in your preferred editor, whatever is set to open up LUA files. It does not matter what it is, as long as it can edit text, obviously. It will open in it. We also have, well, as soon as you save these missions, so if I make an edit and then save it, you have to go to your editor and then save in your editor to get those changes to apply. But other than that, it won't, you don't have to do anything special to get them to save or anything like that. You cannot click on Entity Initialize, so we added, or Yoshi added, a button up here called Open Entity Initialize. It allows you to just click here and see what names correspond with which ID in the XML. So you can script objects to move, such as cutscene cameras or air vehicles. You want them to fly over this base, or, you know, co-attack the player if they enter a zone, these kinds of things. We also have Open Script Folder. This allows you to just open up where the editor has your script folder, and you don't have to go through the list here, and you can click whatever you need. It's a pretty big and inclusive part of the editor nowadays. We also have LUA Script Search. So if I want to look for cutscene, it will show me any references to cutscene at all in all of the scripts that it has loaded for this current mission. So this is very useful in a lot of cases, and you will be using this feature quite a bit if you don't have it open in like a if you don't have all the scripts open in like a work folder in your editor. Some code editors would be set up like that, but this is generally an easier way to do it. Moving on, let's do the next feature. It is reloading scripts from res. So specifically with the scripts, if you need to back up from a source, say you screw something up with the scripts and you delete all of them, and you need them back, so you restore the original files where they are in the game. The editor caches these scripts when it decompiles them, and it doesn't reload them at all. So your old scripts will still be in the editor even if you reload the mission at that point. So what you need to do is you need to go to LUA, or LUA, and then reload scripts from resource. So that will reload the scripts directly from the res file. And that will also, let's see, show you. As you can see here, it's decompiling all the scripts over again and overwriting all of them. As you can see, it just updated with a blank screen real quick here. And that is the entirety of this feature. Next up, we have save states. This one is a big one. You should be using this feature constantly. So if we go to plugins and then MISC, you're going to click save state, and that will save whatever you have in your editor as it is right now. All of it. The entire level. Everything. And then say I delete all this. It's gone. I screwed it up. The level's gonna crash now. So what I do is I go to here, load state. Now, what happens if you don't? As you can see, it was automatically restored. It is taking a second. What happens if you forget to do that or don't do it? So let's go ahead and delete this save state. Let's just say I've been editing this game for a while. So I go ahead and save my changes. This is the first original change. This is the first change I've made, but later on I screwed something up. So let's say I deleted them again. Oopsie daisy. Now I go back to load save state. Oh look! So this is an autosave. It will automatically save in a save state every time you save. So you can go back to your previous saves and you don't have to lose all of your progress while modding. It was a huge time saver and it has helped me a couple times already. And for those of you running the latest code version of the editor, we also have this for you. It's a plugin system. You may have seen this in the previous ones, but in here we have some experimental features, and you can create your own plugins. So if you go to your scripts over here, you can click on the plugins folder, and you can use this example plugin as your test case. So you can throw in your code and it will automatically work in the editor, so you won't have to restart it or anything or reload the editor. It's a hot swappable feature, and it's one of the really cool features that have been added. We also have this LUA Simulator that will be a future part of this. We have save states. We have obviously object export padding. I'll go over that later. Strings editor, so you can edit text and stuff like that. I will also go over that feature later. But that is the gist of this feature right now. And moving on. Now I want to show off some of the smaller features that Yoshi has added over a long period of time this year. So if you go to the units or components, I believe it is, where's camera? No, it's in maps. So if you go over to the map thing, you can see the flags that are currently set on each of the cameras. Currently, as it is, we do not have the flags actually shown. So it's a binary counting system is what it is. So if you have, let's say, 3 different flags, you'd need 3 different bytes to do that, and you'd represent them by 1, 2, and 4. So you'd just add those numbers together to activate all 3 flags. So if I wanted all of them active, it would be 7. If I wanted just flag number 3 active, it would be 4. It would be 4. If I wanted just flag number 2 active, it would be 2. If I wanted 3 and 2 active, it would be 6. That's how binary counting works, and it just doubles each time. So that's why you can see super large numbers with these flags. But they are all specified in the code, and we are working to have them visually shown in the editor, where you can just tick a box maybe, and it would work like that. And it would be much more clear how things work in those ways. let's see here. Next up, we also have, yes, the config file. So if I go to my editor, say I just have the regular old editor here. So this is the current release version, and I go here. We have this editor config. So in here, you can change a whole bunch of settings. And recently we added dark mode, so you can set this to false if you want, and you can enable this FPS counter if you want. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's save it, and then let me boot the editor here. As you can see here, it's all light mode, and I have an FPS counter. And admittedly, it doesn't look too great, but you know, options. You got a whole bunch of options in there as well, apart from just those. These are just your filters. It saves your filters in here. This is mostly for debugging. This regenerate PF2. It basically allows you to move the map zones in BW2. Unlike in BW1, they're baked into the PF2 file a lot of times, and it bakes in the small number of ones that we currently have the capability and knowledge to change at the moment. You can also change your speeds, your speed factor, so it'll multiply this by 5 when you hit shift. You can invert the zoom if you want. You want to scroll in and it'll zoom out. That's up to you. Anyway, those are the editor config options. Now, with this feature, this next upcoming feature that I'm showing off, is called padding. Now, this one will probably have a lot of confusion around it, and it's understandable for a little while. So, how padding works is basically if I edit, say I move this troop here, and the game's already loaded, it's expecting the file to be of a certain size. And when you change that size, by changing anything in the XML and saving it while the game's already running, so say I have the mission already booted. So let me go ahead and boot the mission real quick. So files. And I go to the third Solar Empire mission right here. Obviously, I haven't saved my changes yet, so nothing's really changed. So this is basically the default mission. But what if I wanted to move this light tank all the way to over here? Just because. So I go ahead and save it. So I go ahead and restart. As you can see, it crashes. That's because it's expecting the same size. Now, padding allows you to have the same size by giving you a little bit of wiggle room to change the actual size. So what it does is, even if you increase the size by changing something in the XML, it already has that size increased for you. So it's basically giving you a little bit of extra space to work with. So if I go ahead and revert that change, let it save real quick. If I go ahead and revert that change, and then I go to padding, and then I set level padding, let's say 5%, that'll work. And it will uncompress all of the level files. And then I go back to Dolphin. I'll let it load real quick. As you can see here, my light tank is back where it's supposed to be. So if I go ahead and save it now if I hit restart mission, it will work. And my light tank will be right over there where I put it. So this is a beneficial feature in that you can quickly test things and get things out the door by just hitting the restart mission button. Now, with the way I set the padding, I could only change things in the XML. If you want to, say, change scripts, you will need to set this resource padding right here. And if you change the preload, so you'd go down to the preload thing, you'd need to set preload padding as well. So that's how that works. It basically gives you a bunch of wiggle room to quickly test your mods. Now, if you're adding units to a level, I would just restart Dolphin in that case, because you are, in all likelihood, going to go over the padding limit in some cases. Later on here, we will also have an LUA Simulator. This is currently out in the code version of the build, and it will allow us to test. It will allow you to test your scripts automatically without having to run the game, like seeing if there's like a logic error or progression error in general. So like you can just hit all scripts or select a specific script and you can hit run, and it will go through and it will wait, and it will wait the exact amount of time and everything, and you can do a bunch of things to set return values on functions. It's a much more advanced feature and probably a little bit out of scope for a lot of people in this video, so that's why I'm not going to go over that right now. Now, some of the later quality of life bug fixes that to come are things such as being able to see the names of things and the LUA names of units. So if you click on this thing, you can see the LUA name is Iron Legion Bomber Start 03. So you could go to the LUA Search and look that up. So let's do that. IL Bomber Start 03. And you can see all references to that unit specifically. We also have these little gizmos up here, allow you to turn off boxes entirely, and you can kind of look around in your own world, in the world, without having to see any things that you don't want to see. So let's go ahead and turn off waypoints and zones, all zones. Let's get rid of those. And you can kind of just view the mission as it's intended. As you can see, I was playing around with something real quick. You can kind of just view as it was intended without any nonsense from the editor specifically. It is interesting that there are gunships here. I believe they originally planned to have the gunships destroy the battle station and you just walking around, and you know, there were supposed to be fights on the bridges and such like that. Definitely looks to be a much different layout for this mission than was used. Anyways, next up we have the strings editor, the pretty important one here. So the strings are actually stored outside of missions a lot of times. There are a few minor exceptions, I believe, somewhere. This is literally just an import of the old tool we had in the old editor. So you will need to go to data, then strings right here, and you click on the one you need specifically. So I just go here, you can see it's the prologue. You can also just go to the strings editor and click here, and it will take you directly to this mission's strings without you having to go to the file specifically. You will need to save it, add message here, blah blah blah, add message. Oh, I need to set the message content, sorry. You need to set the message content first, so there you go, got that added in. And delete. There we go, don't have to deal with it. That's the entirety of the strings editor. You will also find a lot of little goodies that the devs originally left in and stuff like that, like stuff for MP16, which was a cut online mission. Another new feature of the editor is rotation on the XY axis. So in the latest in the latest code version of the editor, we have these little widgets here that allow us to turn and move things as we please. So it allows us to just control them in any specific direction. In previous versions, we didn't have the full control over the tilting of objects. Now we do. Oh, I forgot to mention, we also have this model viewer right here that allows us to see models of whatever unit you're selecting, so it can make spotting things a little bit easier. You can see troops and such, and if you select multiple things, you can see all of their models relative to their positions in the selected space. So that's pretty neat. I have one last feature that I wanted to show off here. If you go to Object Import and Export, there is another option called Remove Objects and Assets. If I click on a unit, say, let's do the Tundra and Territories Flamer, and I go to Object Import and Export and click Remove Objects and Assets, I have a couple options here. If it's a vehicle that I'm selecting, I could delete the passengers of the vehicle as well as the vehicle, and this will remove any passengers, obviously. It will also remove it from the entity initialized, so if you have anything scripted with it, it will get rid of it. Delete the object space and other instances of the script, and delete any scripts that go with it, specifically. So I'm going to delete everything. As you can see here, it removed 46 objects, 11 resources, and 13 entity initialized entries for flame vents. Now there are no flame vents inside the level whatsoever. And this is very useful for if you have imported too much into a level and are getting errors. There are specific errors that come with an overfilled res. Normally you can fit quite a bit, but you still cannot fit the entire roster of units and objects into a level, as it would take up about a half gig of RAM, and even with Dolphin you can only 3x the current RAM, which is about, I believe, 128 megabytes, sorry. So you won't be able to fit all that much. And with that, that's the final part of this video. Please consider donating to the GoFundMe. And remember that we're nearing our second goal of $2,000 on the GoFundMe. If you want to see more videos like this, please comment down below, like tutorials on how to do basic mods. I would be happy to do them as long as there's interest shown in such things. If you have any other modding questions, feel free to come to the Discord server down in the link below. I have all the links to anything that is required in this video down below in the description. And with that, I'll see you guys later.